What if every harsh word that cuts through you, every cold shoulder that leaves you empty, every dismissive glance that makes you question your worth? What if none of these had any real power over you? What if the reason you're bleeding emotionally right now isn't because of what they did to you, but because of what their actions awakened within you? Today, we're going to use the profound wisdom of Carl Jung to reveal why certain behaviors affect you so deeply and how the power to stop hurting yourself is already in your hands. This isn't about becoming numb or building walls. This is about understanding the brutal truth that will set you free. Here's what nobody tells you. Words and actions from the outside world have no inherent power over your emotional state. None. Zero. The comment that destroys your day, the look that makes you feel worthless, the silence that drives you into anxiety spirals, these are not the real culprits. Carl Jung understood this deeply when he said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But let me take this further. What hurts you is not what others do to you, but what these experiences activate within you. Think about this. Why does the same insult destroy one person while another person laughs it off? Why does abandonment traumatize some while others see it as freedom? Why does criticism send you into a shame spiral while your friend uses it as motivation? The difference isn't in the external event. The difference is in what that event finds when it reaches your inner world. Every emotional wound you carry is like an open sore in your psyche. When someone's words or actions brush against that sore, you scream in pain. But here's the brutal truth. They didn't create the wound. They simply revealed it. You've been walking around with these internal injuries, these unintegrated shadows, these rejected parts of yourself. And every time the world mirrors them back to you, you blame the mirror instead of looking at what's being reflected. Jung called it the shadow. Those aspects of ourselves we've pushed into the unconscious, the parts we've deemed unacceptable, shameful, or weak. But here's what happens. These shadow aspects don't disappear when we ignore them. They become hypersensitive trigger points. When someone calls you selfish and it devastates you, it's not because they're right or wrong. It's because somewhere deep inside, you have an unresolved relationship with your own selfishness. When someone abandons you and you feel like you're dying, it's not just about them leaving. It's about the part of you that already felt abandoned, probably since childhood. The external world becomes a constant activation system for your internal wounds. You live in a state of emotional reactivity, at the mercy of everyone else's words and actions, because you haven't done the deep work of integrating your shadow. Think about the people who seem unshakable. Think about those who can receive criticism without crumbling, who can be rejected without their self-worth collapsing, who can face conflict without their nervous system going into overdrive. They're not heartless. They're not disconnected. They've done the internal work. They've made peace with their flaws. They've integrated their shadows. They've stopped rejecting parts of themselves. So when the world points those parts out, there's no open wound to aggravate. But you're still carrying these internal refugees, these exiled parts of yourself that you've never welcomed home. And every day the world reminds you they exist, and every day you blame the world for your pain. This leads us to the most exhausting trap of all, trying to control how the world treats you. You monitor conversations for signs of disapproval. You modify your behavior to avoid triggering others. You walk on eggshells trying to prevent the very interactions that cause you pain. But here's the devastating reality. You cannot control the external world. You cannot force people to speak kindly to you. You cannot prevent all criticism, all rejection, all conflict. You cannot build a life so perfectly curated that nothing ever brushes against your internal wounds. The attempt to control external triggers is like trying to soundproof the entire world instead of healing your sensitive ears. It's impossible, exhausting, and ultimately futile. Jung observed this when he noted that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you can't become who you truly are while you're busy trying to control everyone else's perception and treatment of you. Every minute you spend trying to manage the external world is a minute you're not spending on the only thing you can actually control, your internal world. The person who criticized you will criticize someone else tomorrow. The person who rejected you will reject others. The person who triggered your deepest insecurities will move on with their life, completely unaware of the emotional earthquake they caused in yours. Meanwhile, you remain trapped in the same reactive patterns, carrying the same unhealed wounds, waiting for the world to finally treat you the way you need to be treated so you can feel okay about yourself. But what if I told you there's another way? What if instead of trying to control the mirror, you changed what was being reflected? The path to emotional freedom isn't about building thicker skin or becoming indifferent to others. It's about doing the deep, often uncomfortable work of integrating your shadow, healing your internal wounds, and making peace with the rejected parts of yourself. When you stop rejecting your own selfishness, others calling you selfish loses its sting. When you integrate your own capacity for abandonment, being left by others becomes less devastating. When you acknowledge your own flaws and imperfections, criticism becomes information rather than identity assassination. This is what Jung meant when he said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Because when you accept yourself completely, the external world loses its power to devastate you. You stop being a victim of other people's words and actions. You stop living in emotional reactivity. You stop exhausting yourself trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, you become the author of your own emotional experience. You become someone who can receive feedback without falling apart, who can face rejection without losing themselves, who can navigate conflict without their entire nervous system going into survival mode. If you've recognized yourself in this description, if you've seen how much energy you've been spending trying to control the external world while ignoring the internal one, I want you to take the first step right now. Comment below. I look within. That's it. 3 simple words that represent a fundamental shift in where you place your attention and energy. And if this resonates with you, if you're ready to stop being at the mercy of everyone else's words and actions, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of people who are committed to doing the deep work, to facing their shadows, to becoming truly free. Remember this. Your freedom begins when you understand that the external world only has power if it finds an echo in your internal world. Stop trying to control the world and start getting to know yourself. The criticism that destroys you is pointing to something unintegrated within you. The rejection that devastates you is highlighting a relationship you need to heal with yourself. The conflict that sends you into panic is revealing parts of your shadow that need attention. Your pain is not the world's fault. Your healing is not the world's responsibility. Both are yours. But how do you explore this internal world? How do you begin to integrate these shadow aspects and heal these internal wounds? There's a part of us that controls everything from the shadows, influencing our reactions, our patterns, our entire emotional landscape, the unconscious mind. In our next video, we'll dive deep into Jung's map of the unconscious and show you exactly how to begin this journey of integration and healing. Because knowing you have internal wounds is just the beginning. Learning how to heal them is where the real transformation happens. The journey inward starts now. Are you ready